Hello everybody, this is Money Mom. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the economy in the 1920s from 1920 to 29 before the stock market crash. And I'm going to talk all about it. Let me get right into it. I'm really enjoying looking through history. A lot of this stuff I knew, but it's wonderful to refresh my memory, and I always have a lot to learn from you folks as well. As many of you know, the 1920s, they called it the Roaring 20s. And it was basically a lot of industry going on. It was an economic boom. Many people were doing really well, and some people weren't, and I will get into that later in the video. But what was happening was more and more jobs were being created, and there was a big, huge time of change. More and more Americans owned radios, cars, telephones, electric appliances. Aviation became very popular, and women were now voting. So there was so much change going on. Just for a little bit of interest, the most popular dessert during that time, one of my favorite desserts that I grew up with in the 1970s, pineapple upside down cake. Let me know if any of you enjoyed that. I always enjoyed that with the pineapples and maraschino cherries. So that was one of the most popular desserts during that time. The 1920s was a time of indulgent activity, major consumerism, and also many people rejected a lot of moral standards. Now, two things I found interesting I thought I would share. $1 in the 1920s is today, due to the inflation, and I love looking at inflation calculators. I'm not sure how accurate they are, but it gives us a little bit of a reference point, is worth $13.24 today. One thing that I thought was interesting was in 1920, the average rent on a, say, one-bedroom apartment, it was $60 a month. With the inflation calculator, that would raise it to nowadays about $776 a month. Now, you can get a one-bedroom apartment for $776 in some parts of the country, but in major cities, it would be challenging to do that. And I know in Dallas, there might be some areas that you could do that, but it would be kind of a challenge to find something for under $900 for a one-bedroom apartment here. But anyway, I thought you would find that quite interesting. But as you can see, the 1920s was a time where people were spending more money, and there was just so much change going on. Well, I thought that because of this, everybody was doing financially well. That is actually not true. And if this is correct, they say that 60% of Americans were impoverished or in poverty, and many of those people, it was because more and more people were living in the city, and that's where many of the jobs were. But a lot of the folks that either came and just had immigrated, or people that lived on farms, many of the people that lived on farms were in debt. Many of them were really suffering and were having a tough time. But it's interesting because when the Depression happened, many of the people that did have farms were the ones that were able to feed their families. So the tables got kind of turned. But we are going to also talk next time about the stock market crash of 1929 and what kind of led up to it. A lot of it obviously was speculation and consumer spending. And we know when we have fear about the economy and you have a lot of the speculation being put out there, much of that can also cause, activity in the stock market. It seems like everything kind of goes up and down, then it's stable, then it goes down, then there's a boom, then there's a crash. It's just constantly changing. But a lot was changing during the 1920s. For some folks, it was a really abundant, fun time, but for some other people, it was a tough time. And I looked up also, and I don't know how accurate this is, the poverty level in the United States right now, and I don't know about the rest of the countries, is a little over 16%, but in the 1920, it was 60%. But like I said, there's been a lot of changes since then. So that's so far what I have to tell you about the 1920s and the economy and what it was like. Next week, we'll be talking about the Depression, and then after that, we'll be talking about post-war II. So let me know what you guys think. What do you want to add about the 1920s, about the economy during that time. How did people save money? Who were the people that were doing well? The people that were doing well, I will just end with saying this, were people that were working in the industries that they needed work in, and also many middle-class women were doing well, and anybody working with the stock market was doing well. Those were the folks that were making good money and had the money that they needed to buy many of these new inventions, as you would say. So let me know, guys, anything you want to share about the 1920s. I sure would love to hear about it in the comments below. That's all for now. This is Money Mom signing off, and as always, I love you. Bye-bye.